Whew. Holla. Holla. All right. Wow. What a game. What a good performance. You must say. OSU looked great. They played with the passion and the desire that you want to see from a football team. The offense looked phenomenal. I mean, amazing. Just amazing. And I'm waiting for the people to get in the chat here to talk about this game. As you can see, the energy levels are pretty low. It's been an exciting day over here in Columbus. And the Buckeyes look amazing. Everyone was talking trash about the Nebraska performance, and then look at what they've done to could have been a trump card of a game here against the Purdue Boilermakers. They go out there and they scored nearly 60 points. 60. That's a lot of points. 59. That's what you want to see the offense do. And not to mention the fact that they scored 59 points. They did it in so many different ways. You got your passes, you got your runs, you got your red zones, you got your breaking of the tackles, you got your wide open long balls. Just phenomenal. Phenomenal win for the Buckeyes. Yeah, Ducks. Yep, go Ducks. I like the Ducks too. I like the Bucks too. Great win. I agree, Brian. It was an amazing win. Great performance. Nice way to have your penultimate home game of the season. One more home game next weekend against the Michigan State. Ohio State's playing good. That was probably, in my opinion, the best game of the year. The pass defense struggled there, Dylan. Yeah, they kind of took their foot off the gas there when the OSU was up like 48 to like 17. That's kind of when they took their foot off the gas and the pass defense was struggling a little bit. I think the effort sort of waned and they kind of knew like, well, you know what? The offense scored 42 points in the first half. We don't really need to kill ourselves over here. It's okay. It's okay that they gave up 31 points because most of the points they were giving up were garbage points. I think Purdue only scored 17 points in the first half. And by the time I think they got their 10 points in the second quarter, OSU was already up by like 25 or 30. So, yeah, Mayan Williams, what a beast. This is a great example of a game where you see the running offense working together well when you have different options. Because the past couple of weeks, Travion Henderson's really getting the bulk of the load in the running game and getting a lot of those carries. But today, Mayan Williams, 117 rushing yards. Henderson has 2 touchdowns, 98 yards. Garrett Wilson has a 51-yard touchdown run just out of freaking nowhere. Not to mention, I mean, Mason, I'd love to see Master T get a shot and see him do a little bit more. Let me get a light on here. Oh, nice big stretch. Oh, God. You get more tired when it gets darker early. It's like 5 o'clock and I was zonked. It's 7 p.m. and I feel like it's like 12 at midnight. I am a geezer. But yeah, Randall, that happened. That was a game. That was a great performance from OSU. They looked awesome. Why didn't they go for the last touchdown? Oh, yeah. Well, maybe would have helped the spread people or the over people, but I think this game definitely hit the over. Was the total points 90? Yeah, I think this game hit the over. I don't know, though. But OSU looked the best I think they've looked on offense all season. CJ Stroud, 7 incompletions, 5 touchdown passes, 361 yards. 3 receivers over 100 yards. The 3 big receivers all having receiving touchdowns. Garrett Wilson had a game. You thought Jackson Smith and Jigba was good last week against Nebraska. Garrett Wilson missed out and was like, well, okay. What did you do, Jackson? Oh, you had 200 receiving yards and a touchdown? Okay. I'll just go and have 4. Yeah, and 126 receiving yards. Oh, let me have a 51-yard touchdown run. Beast of a performance from Garrett Wilson. He was awesome. He was juking guys. He was hitting I mean, you see this thing. If you're familiar with like Madden or the PlayStation, you hit this button right here. You hit the L1 button, and that's how you do a juke move. You want to spin by a guy, you press the circle button. That's what Garrett Wilson was doing all day long. He was playing Madden against Purdue, and he was on rookie. and Purdue thought he was on like freaking all Madden. Amazing performance. Yeah, overall good job. Again, I think, the safeties were a tad bit of a liability. I guess at the same time, I understand why the defense maybe wasn't so sharp in the moments that Purdue was getting back into the game, because the game was kind of one and done at that point. So OSU is not the kind of team, in my opinion, based on the defense and sort of more of the fact that it's a project rather than being elite. OSU, I don't think, is the kind of team to go up by like 40 or so and then just keep on jamming it down their throats with touchdowns and then stopping on defense. Whereas Georgia right now is up 41-10 against Tennessee. Georgia's the kind of team that will stomp all over you for sure. I feel like that was in prevent defense. One that would take a lot of time. Yeah. CJ still has a problem throwing the ball too high. Yeah, we could say that. Finally put in their place. I feel like the game where the offense was going to score every drive, so the defense felt like they could just kind of snooze out there. Right, Lucas. And that's the thing. That's the thing with football that I find so interesting compared to the other sports. If your offense is absolutely lighting it up, your defense can be like, okay, we're fine. We're up by 40. We don't need to cover so hard. Let's just work on some things, work on some coverage. I mean, obviously you want them to play as hard as they can. Messed up a little bit there in the third quarter and early in the fourth, but hey, that makes sense. Whereas like in basketball, you can't let up on defense because you're playing offense and defense. Most guys play just defense or just offense in this sport. Yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Wilson were just juking guys all over the field. There were bodies that were just falling, ankles being broken for sure. Or those Purdue fans who were delusional enough to think that they had a shot. I mean, you go into this game and Purdue could have if Ohio State had a struggle like they did against Nebraska and the red zone offense wasn't working so much, then Purdue might have had a shot in this game. But yeah, Ohio State ended it early. The offense was in rhythm. Garrett Wilson was open. They couldn't be stopped. When you score touchdowns on your first 6 drives, or I think they just scored on their first 6 drives, you're in a position where you're probably going to win the game. So more than likely had some of the bench out there early too. Right, that's true. Randall brings up a good point. You probably had some backups in there. If our offense plays a very good to elite defense, we might lose. Our offense is probably too good for the Big Ten. Defense will cost us in the playoffs. Yeah, Jay, I mean, that's kind of the big picture conversation when you're looking towards it. I mean, right now, in terms of the Big Ten, we're on the path of Ohio State making the playoff. They just have to keep winning football games. They have to make sure they beat the Spartans, beat the Wolverines, make the Big Ten championship. Who are they going to play? What's the standings now? Right now, Wisconsin's top of the West. They're 7-3. Minnesota 6-3. We're on the path of an OSU-Wisconsin Big Ten championship as of now. Obviously, that could change in an instant if OSU loses to Michigan State or goes down to Ann Arbor and loses to Michigan. So that could obviously change in a dime. But the way the Buckeyes played today, you sort of get that reassurance of, yeah, this team is good enough to be in the top 4. And this team is good enough to maybe give Georgia a test. But right now, the way Georgia's playing against Tennessee is Georgia's coming away with maybe their best performance of the season offensively. We talked a lot about Georgia offense maybe not being as elite as possible. Sure, they scored 62 points against a team like Vandy, but Tennessee is like an okay team, and for them to get 41 points is impressive. It's just the fact that Georgia doesn't give up any points. So 59-17 sounds better, but this was indeed a performance. All that offense looked nasty, and we can stop the run well. Do you think Washington fans are the worst fans in college football? I don't know who the worst fans are in college football. Supposed to speak good defense look like Swiss cheese. Yeah, sneaky good defense look like Swiss cheese. Yeah, I get that. Understatement of the year. Does Purdue have a good O-line, or do y'all think our D-line subbed out early? Yeah, I'm not sure. Purdue's O-line couldn't handle. They couldn't handle a bit of the D-line. I think they did a decent job. Obviously, in the second half, they were performing. OSU's D-line didn't really get to the quarterback. I kind of was interpreting that question in reverse. Now I'm doing it correctly. But I was thinking the fact that the OSU O-line was absolutely splendid today. Purdue couldn't do anything against CJ Stroud. Michigan beats Ohio State and Ohio State beats Michigan State, then it's a 3-way tie. How's that decided? How is that decided? There'd be some kind of crazy tiebreaker. Let me go ahead and look up the tie-breaking procedures to see if that 3-way tie, because then you have like a 3-way head-to-head bracket, which would make things very complicated. So if I go to the Big Ten, Let me see the tie-breaking procedures. That's all the games. I can just search Big Ten standings, football, tiebreakers. Here we go. Divisional tiebreaker. The Big Ten. If two teams were tied, the winner of the game between the two tied teams shall be the representative. If 3 or more teams are tied, steps 1 through 8 will be followed until a determination is made. Okay, so the records of the 3 tied teams will be compared based on winning percentage in games between the tied teams. Okay. So then basically that you would put Michigan, OSU, and Michigan State in like a bracket against each other and see what the winning percentage is between those 3 teams. That's kind of the big thing. What's up, Treasure? How you doing? It goes by score? Would it be by score? Yeah, I mean it gets to a really complex thing. Records of the 3 tied teams will be compared based on winning percentage within their division. That's the second tiebreaker. So it gets into a lot of different stuff. Don't have to get into those until we would see OSU potentially lose. But obviously that could be something that comes into account if OSU beats Michigan State next weekend, and then OSU goes into the Michigan game, and maybe Jim Harbaugh finally gets one on the Buckeyes. But we'll see. Said on Marks that the Buckeyes would win. All right, way to go, Cheryl. Highest ranked team. Honestly, seems like Ohio State is in if they win out. Yeah, no, OSU will make the playoff if they win out. I just think it's very irritating that the committee is basically not giving Cincinnati any credit, because Alabama can have their one loss against an unranked Texas A&M team, win out the rest of the season. And honestly, even if Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC championship, I feel like they'd still put Alabama in, honestly, which is kind of annoying if I'm being perfectly honest. Imagine a 2-loss Alabama team got in ahead of an undefeated Cincinnati team. Cincy fans would be incredibly upset. And then there's the whole, the scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But that would send Cincinnati fans crazy, and would also just make SEC haters just hate the SEC more and be more annoyed that the committee just loves the SEC so much. Yeah. If I was a Cincinnati fan and Alabama made it as a 2-loss team, I'd be fuming. I would genuinely be fuming. So we're a few weeks away from that stuff. Michael Hogg. I don't know where Michael Hogg is. But today was a great performance. You got a little bit of that winter weathery mix felt in. It's real fall football in Columbus. This is the type of stuff dreams are made of. The Big 12's already eliminated. Actually, you know what, Jay? You bring up a point. Oklahoma State and Baylor. Well, no, not Baylor. Baylor has 2 losses. It's Oklahoma State now. That's probably the favorite in the Big 12. They're going to play each other, obviously, at the end of the season, so that could keep one of them within the mix. The playoff race is still tight, but because Oregon might literally only make the playoff because they beat Ohio State. Because I feel like in any other year, imagine Oregon was a 1-loss team and you had like a 1-loss extra Big Ten team or a 1-loss Oklahoma team, they would get in over Oregon. Oregon is literally only in the playoff because they beat Ohio State right now. And then, of course, the whole head-to-head thing doesn't really matter that much because Michigan State is behind Michigan and Michigan State beat Michigan. So they might flip-flop Oregon and OSU, but they will still keep Cincinnati out. I think, David, they're not. I think the rankings are going to stay the same at this rate. I mean, Alabama's playing who? LSU tonight? Am I wrong? I think they're playing LSU tonight, right? No, they already. Oh, Alabama played New Mexico State. They won 59-3. What a joke. Georgia's beating Tennessee 41-17. They're going to win that game. Where's Oregon? Is Oregon playing? Yeah, Oregon's playing tonight against Washington State. So if Oregon wins, I think the rankings stay the same. I think the committee is going to continue to see that Oregon win over OSU as probably the best win of the season, considering they did it in Columbus. And Oregon might only make the playoff because of that win, which would be crazy, honestly. What Cincinnati truly has to do is schedule 1 or 2 more highly ranked opponents on their schedule, and that will solidify their spot. Yeah, maybe in the future. I mean, again, in the future, they'll be in the Big 12, assuming they do that. But Yeah, Cincinnati scheduled some harder ranked games, but they thought they did in retrospect. They played Notre Dame, they played Indiana, but yeah, you probably need a tougher team in their early days. OSU defense didn't care what Purdue did. Bell was on lockdown other than a few jump balls. Refs called back on Olave deep ball, then swallows their flags, not calling DP on Olave. That got us our only punt. Yeah, one punt for OSU. Alabama always gets the tip of the hat because of their track record, and that's annoying. And that's something Mark and I were talking about last week during the watch party. The fact that college football is one of the few sports in the world where a playoff or whoever has a chance to win a national championship is determined by human beings and not some type of point system or based off of winning percentage or winning a conference or something is still insane. And it obviously makes for a lot of decision making and a ton of debate. And you should not have reputation factor in previous reputation. Alabama, in my opinion, should not be in the top 4. I think they should maybe be 5th. But right now, I would rank my top 4 as Georgia 1, Cincy 2, and then OSU, Oregon, whatever order you want. I would put OSU ahead of Oregon because I think OSU's shown they're a better team. That would be my top 4. And I'd put Bama at 5 because I think Bama has between Bama and Oregon's loss, I think Oregon had the worst loss because Stanford is worse than Texas A&M. But yeah, it's tough. Rutgers beat Indiana today. Doesn't look good for Cincy. Oh, no. Oh, no, the mighty Scarlet Knights. No, the Hoosiers lost. Oh, God. There goes that Cincy strength of schedule. But oh, wait. Alabama's strength of schedule is so good, right? Who did they play this week? New Mexico State, a team who is 1-9. And Alabama, the number 2 ranked team in the country, is playing a 1-9 team in week 11. It just baffles me. Alabama has beaten 2 teams that are currently in the top 25. Florida and Miami. Well, no, Miami was ranked when they played them. Alabama's best win is probably against Ole Miss. But Alabama will have 2 okay games at the end of the season, Arkansas, Auburn. But Alabama's strength of schedule is only impressive because they're playing other teams within the SEC. And you could say the same of Georgia, but the way Georgia's playing is enough to switch that conversation to the fact that, yeah, they're the best team in the country. They're playing and dominating every team they play. A 2-loss, no champ is not getting in, period. I hope, Mike, I would not put them in, but because it's Alabama, maybe they do. We'll see. Put Cincinnati at 2. I am a fool. Okay, I'm a fool. Since he needs Notre Dame to win out. Yeah, they need some help from Notre Dame to help that win look a little bit better. I'll be the first to admit the judging is very flawed anytime there's money involved. You can guess the rest. Stanford always beats Oregon. Alabama's schedule is light years tougher than Oregon's schedule. Hey, voice of college football. I think that's actually Mark tweeting or typing. Hello, Mark. Alabama's schedule is light years tougher than Oregon's schedule. Yeah, no, definitely. Alabama's schedule is tougher. And that probably gives them a bit of an edge. It'd be interesting, though, if Alabama were to lose to Georgia in the SEC championship, and you might have, I don't know, another Big Ten team make it. Because the SEC is the only conference in the playoff era that's had more than one team make it into the top 4, I'm pretty sure. No, there's never been 2 Big Ten teams in the playoff. Hello, Mark. Hello. Playing Florida close only hurts Bama's reputation. Right. Georgia hands down is number 1. Their defense is lights out. Their offense is good enough to get it done. Yep, I agree. Right. And Ryan, that's what I was saying earlier. The fact that Oregon beat Ohio State, if Oregon had this record but didn't beat Ohio State in Columbus and maybe beat somebody else, they wouldn't be in the top 4. They would put Oklahoma or, I don't know, somebody else. That's the thing. Oregon's win over Ohio State is keeping them alive. So this game was clean game, no sacks, not even injury. Yeah, no injury. That was good. This stretch drive by the Buckeyes is brutal. Penn State, Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan Big Ten title game. Yeah, seriously, that is a tough stretch. I mean, Nebraska's thrown in there. Such a good team. But if OSU can go through that stretch and look as good as they did today and beat Michigan State, Michigan with a high-powered offense like they had against Purdue tonight, go out to the Big Ten championship, beat Wisconsin or Minnesota, have a great offensive performance. That gives them an opportunity. So, but the path I think OSU's on is getting the third or fourth spot and maybe playing Alabama or Georgia. But that will be the interesting thing. I would be so annoyed if the committee put Alabama in, even if they lost to Georgia. That'd be very infuriating. The Pac-12 is not great. The SEC is better than the Pac-12. If I stayed at Georgia defense, forget it. Yeah, forget it. That's true. They would have the best defense and the best offense in the country. Oregon's second best win is UCLA or Fresno State. Right. And that is like, what are you talking about? Alabama has 2 better wins than that. Absolutely, for sure. What are Bama's best wins? Probably Ole Miss and Florida. Maybe. I think Ole Miss is their best win. I'm sure Mark might disagree or agree on that one, but I would say between Ole Miss and Florida for Bama's best wins. Dan Mullen, I don't know, Roberto. Yeah, Donovan, how you doing? If OSU wins out, they should be ranked number 2. Maybe. Could you imagine if OSU played the way they did over the next 3 weeks and won the Big Ten, playing some great offensive football, and Bama were to like beat Georgia by like a 3-point win in Atlanta in the SEC championship, and Alabama would still be ranked above OSU? I mean, either way, at that point, it wouldn't matter too much because then it would basically be Bama playing OSU. I feel like OSU is going to play Bama or Georgia in the playoff. I feel like that's what's going to happen. 70-52 versus the Cupcake FCS team. I think it'll be OSU, Cincy, Georgia, and Oregon. God, I hope it's Cincy. I would love to see Cincy in the play. That'd be so much fun. Ole Miss, Mississippi State to upset Auburn. Okay, yeah. When it gets down to the Final Four teams, there are very small details that always show themselves in the difference of talent. Right, yeah. Yeah, Ole Miss is definitely Bama's best win. I think I would agree with that. But the way OSU played was phenomenal. Best performance of the season. No question about it. Garrett Wilson had the game of his life. And that's what's crazy about the season for OSU. You've got all these 3 top receivers, and they're all having – each of them has had a marquee performance. Chris Olave's had a marquee performance a couple of times. Smith and Jigba had his career game last week, and then Garrett Wilson has his career game this week. Mayan Williams plays really well. CJ Stroud plays really well. Get the home crowd in your favor. They got to keep that offensive momentum against Michigan State next week. That is going to help them a ton. So hopefully they can do that, and that will help the Buckeyes get to that 10-1 record. Did Michigan State win today? I'm checking the rest of the scores. Michigan State is winning. Okay, 40-21 against the mighty Maryland Terps. Freaking Turtles. Kenneth Walker's got 2 touchdown runs. Lovely jubbly. I still say Georgia beats Alabama if they meet up. I've been saying this for 4 weeks now. I think Georgia would beat Bama too, honestly. I would agree with you there. I think Georgia would beat Bama. Like, Georgia is so good. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen a number 1 team play as well as Georgia has week in and week out. Phenomenal. I want to see a Cincy-Georgia rematch from last year, an Oregon-OSU rematch. Can you imagine the storylines? I can, Ryan, but then Alabama's not in it. So then the storylines don't matter. Ugh. Fools. Alabama doesn't need to be in the playoff for people to care. This wasn't Garrett's career game. Has he had a better game than 4 touchdowns, a 51-yard rushing touchdown? I can't remember off the top of my head, but Garrett Wilson had 4 touchdowns, over 100 receiving yards, and a 51-yard rushing touchdown. I don't know if he's had a better game than that in his career, but I could be wrong. NBA fan, if you want to tell me about another game he had, then tell me. 1000% big facts. Hell yeah, I'm all about the big facts and some opinions. I am factual, but also, I have my opinions too. The fact that I don't think Alabama should be top 4 is literally an opinion. A Cincy-Georgia rematch would be a ton of fun. OSU-Oregon rematch would be a ton of fun. An OSU-Cincinnati championship game would just be the best thing ever. Ohio would just be nothing but excited for an entire week and a half to see Ohio just do whatever. Penn State last year. What were his stats last year? Let me see that game. Ohio State, Penn State football 2020. 38-25. Let's see. 111 yards and 62 rushing yards. Yeah, I don't think so. I would have to disagree. Garrett Wilson against Penn State last year didn't have a touchdown. Halloween of 2020, OSU won 38-25. Garrett Wilson had 62 rushing yards and 111 receiving yards on 11 catches. He had 4 touchdowns today. I think today was his best game of his career. Is Oklahoma completely done after losing today? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say. They might be. I think losing to Baylor doesn't help. And the fact that's a moment where the committee is probably like, yes, people think we're smart now because we put an undefeated Oklahoma team at number 8. Oh, and look, they lost to Baylor. We have been proven correct. Everybody bow before your college football playoff committee. So the committee's probably like, yeah, look at us. We're smart. Listen to us, guys. Oklahoma's not that good. Look, they lost. But you know what? If Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, different story. Sooners might have a shot. We'll have to see. But I don't think the Sooners honestly have a shot. Even if they win out the rest of the season and win the Big 12, I don't think they put together enough impressive wins to get into the top 4. Now that the fact that they've lost sort of helps that case further. 2 teams I cheer for in the national championship. Yeah, it was proven wrong. 170 yards in 2020 is not close to 190 and 4. Yeah, no, touchdowns are touchdowns. If there was college football fantasy and you had Garrett Wilson on your fantasy team, he probably would have gotten you like 50 points. If it was PPR, maybe 60. Oklahoma honestly does this every year. They completely shit in the bed. And they play equally talented opponents. Yeah. And then you see what Oklahoma does in the college football playoff. Oklahoma's never, ever won a game in the college football playoff. Not a single one. I want to see the records. Let me go to college football playoff. I want to see the history of the college football playoff. Because I'm not sure. I think Oklahoma and Notre Dame are the only teams to make the college football playoff multiple times but never win a game. I'm checking that right now. Let me see. Yep. So Oklahoma has made the college football playoff 4 times. They've never won a game in the college football playoff. Notre Dame's made it twice, never won a game. They're the only 2 teams to make the college football playoff multiple times to never win a game. The only other teams that have never won a game in the playoff that have made it are Florida State, Michigan State, and Washington, but they've only played once, and they've only made it once. So Ohio State has the 3rd best playoff record at 3-3, followed by Clemson at 6-4, Alabama at 8-3. So, rate the 3 receivers on the roster right now. Garrett, Njigba, Olave. I'd say Garrett, Olave, Njigba as of how they're playing right now. I think Olave had a decent game. He only had 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns away from breaking David Boston's record. By the way, he's getting there. But I think any ranking for the wide receivers, I think is okay. All 3 of them are fantastic. Happens every time. Now we've got 100,000% big facts. It's not a percentage, buddy. Penn State was top 10 team in Death Valley, where it's always a close game, and he was the best wideout. Yeah, I mean, he played a great game against Penn State last year, but yeah, again, I'll stand by my point. I think today Garrett Wilson had the best game of his career. So, but man, it is crazy. I mean, Oklahoma never won a playoff game. Who did they play? 2015 Orange Bowl. They lost to Clemson by 20. 2017 Rose Bowl, they lost to Georgia 54. Oh yeah, that was the double overtime game. Maybe my favorite college football game ever. That was a great game. Orange Bowl in 2018, Kyler Murray was the QB. They lost to Bama 45-34, garbage time points. And then they played in the Peach Bowl against LSU, and Joe Burrow threw 7 touchdowns, and the Tigers scored 63 points. So, my God. What are the conference records? Yeah, Big Ten is 3-4 in the playoff. Wow. ACC 6-6. SEC 11-4. Yeah. Go figure. Go figure. Yeah, I pulled up the stats. I told you the stats for the Penn State game last year. Garrett Wilson against Penn State in 2020, 111 receiving yards for 11 catches, 62 rushing yards. He had more rushing yards today, and he actually had a touchdown. He didn't have any touchdowns in that game. I don't know why, but Olave seemed underwhelming to me this year. Yeah, he hasn't put up like the crazy numbers you expect out of him. He's still getting the job done. I think Wilson and Smith and Jigba, I think you could perceive as being overachievers because they weren't the guys that were expected to be like the big wide outs. You were thinking of Chris Olave more so. And Olave's played fine. I think he's had a good season. Clemson, Georgia, Bama, LSU. Yeah. They lost to all the big boys. I think the Pitt QB will be the first QB drafted off the board. Brings up a good conversation. 2022 mock draft board. Oh, big stuff. Something's happening in April. Let's talk about it in November. Love it. Let's see. What do we have here? CBS Sports 2022 NFL mock draft. Let's see. The first QB CBS has in their mock draft taken is Matt Corral from Ole Miss. Yeah, it's probably between Corral. Then you've got this Malik Willis from Liberty. Garrett Wilson's a first-round draft pick, by the way. So, and Chris Olave. OSU will have 2 wide receivers taken in the first round for sure. Who's the Pitt quarterback? I forgot his name. Pittsburgh Panthers QB. Want to make sure I get this right. I keep forgetting that Pat Narduzzi is the head coach of Pitt. That is so strange. 2021. I can't see the chat right now, so someone typed it. I'm sorry. Just trying to find it. Yeah, Kenny Pickett. That's right. Yeah, Kenny Pickett. Yeah, Kenny Pickett's a good player. I'd love to see him make the NFL. That'd be cool. Wow, Olave over Jackson. Doesn't do anything after the catch and doesn't get consistent separation. Yeah, talk about today Olave versus Jackson because you said yeah. My bad on that one. Let me see. Yeah, I mean today Smith and Jigba had a better game. I want to say from a stats perspective. Let's see. And Jigba had 139 yards and a touchdown. To be fair, following up with a game like that after 200 yards last week, that's pretty good. Olave had 9 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I think they're serving different purposes, though. I think Ryan Day and the offense have maybe figured out Olave doesn't need to be the deep threat always. We have Wilson, Smith, and Jigba's turned into a great deep threat. So, same amount of catches. It's tight. Olave did drop a wide open pass for sure. Today, I think Olave was the 3rd best receiver out of those guys. He had the 3rd best game. Yeah. I think Olave has a good impact because defenses know how good he is and his experience. So it potentially sets up for more coverage on him. And then you open up Smith and Jigba. But now the way Smith and Jigba's played the last 2 weeks with like nearly 400 receiving yards, you could definitely make an argument that Smith and Jigba is the 2nd most dangerous receiver on the team for sure. All right. Good talking to you, Treasure. Catch you on the next live. Stay cool. All right. Yeah, I definitely should be here for the Michigan State game next week. The Michigan game, I honestly don't know now because I have to move into an apartment. So, rather have JSN beat you over Olave? Yeah, that's true. I get that. I understand that. Yeah, I'll probably talk here for about another 5 to 10 minutes. So, keep those questions going. Got the most out of 3. Yeah, Olave tends to have the most drops. That is true. That is a good point. But Olave's still a great receiver. But yeah, Wilson and Smith and Jigba have probably been the 2 best guys this year. Both have been electric to watch. Great wide receivers. I would love to see Smith and Jigba become first-round draft pick. Let me double check something here. Yeah, I mean, he has over 1,000 receiving yards now this season. First Buckeye to top 1,000 receiving yards in a season since 2018. That's pretty impressive for a sophomore. If he continues on the trajectory he's going, Smith and Jigba might be the first receiver taken in an NFL draft. Something about the depth at running back for OSU? No, not really. And I think today was a good game to show that you don't need to be too concerned about the depth at running back because Mayan Williams came in and had an impactful game for the first time in what feels like 2 or 3 months. It'd be nice to see Master T get a couple more carries, but now that you know that you can use Garrett Wilson more on running plays, I would use Garrett Wilson more on some running plays. Give him a shot. He had a rushing touchdown today. Henderson played fine. Mayan Williams, though, had a big game. Eight yards averaging on a carry, nearly 9. So, yeah, I think today is a game where you're not as concerned about the running back depth anymore because you saw Mayan Williams have a big game when he was given the opportunity to. Whereas over the past couple of weeks, Travion Henderson has really been carrying the load in the run game and has been getting all the opportunities. So, do you see the touchdown catch and runs he was? Would JSN be able to pull those type of TD catches and runs like Olave? I'm not sure. Not sure, Roberto. Yeah, for sure. What do you think about the refs today? Here's the thing. With games like this, where the outcome is so out of range, I'm not so concerned about the officiating decisions because they don't have nearly as much of an impact on the outcome of the game. So that's why I don't really look at the officiating performances in games like this or don't really pay attention as much. The officials had some bad calls, absolutely, but I'm more critical of officials in football or any sport when their calls can potentially affect the outcome of a game. That's where I get a little more into the nitty-gritty of officiating decisions and whatnot. And obviously, we've seen that happen a billion times in college football. A billion times. So the officials didn't have to call anything that was consequential for the outcome of the game. So I go out with your buds and try to get what? Okay. Interesting question. Teams are double bracketing Olave, so it is leaving JSN and Wilson open to get more stats and touches. That's true. And Buckeye Nexus has got a good point there. Yeah, the fact that Olave has been sort of the main man entering the season, teams are still double bracketing him and still double coverages. He might not get the same opportunities, which is why JSN and Wilson have had these sort of monster breakout performances. So we'll see maybe against Michigan State or Michigan, defenses are like, well, Jackson Smith-Njigba's had like 600 receiving yards over the last 3 weeks. We should get 2 guys on him more so. Oh, Garrett Wilson just had a 4-touchdown game. Maybe we need to keep a guy on him the whole time. Chris Olave gets open, has a big game. We'll see. It'll be cool. Olave be able to do the damage across the middle? I'm not sure. It was evident in Penn State game and Nebraska game. Yeah, that's true. I get that. Devin Banks is not a good corner to me. Why has he been hyped as a first-round pick? More like 3rd or 4th. Yeah, Banks hasn't been like overly great. Yeah, he had 2 guys on him on the touchdown drop. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm curious, right? I'm going to go back to that mock draft that I had open. I want to see where they're putting the OSU guys in the first round. Let's see. How you do this is you do your classic Command F. So right now, CBS mock draft has Garrett Wilson going 18th to the Chiefs. Can you imagine if Garrett Wilson had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback? Oh my goodness. Good Lord. They've got Chris Olave going 21st to the Saints. Pretty cool. Teaming up there with good old Michael Thomas. Yeah, right now the mock draft only has those 2 guys as OSU's first-round picks, and that's it. Which makes sense. I think those could be the only 2 first-round picks for the Buckeyes going into the draft next year. The amount of yards our defense gave up today is concerning. Not particularly as concerning as it would be in a closer game. I think the defense just kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit because they knew they could. So, not too concerned. It'll be concerning if they gave up that amount of yards in a first half against a really good team. That's when it starts to get really concerning. But, maybe it adds up towards a big game like against Georgia or Bama. But the concentration levels were good when the game was close. The defense was holding Purdue pretty well in the first half, and then the offense just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And then when it gets later on in the game and you're up by 40, the defense kind of takes a back seat, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I like to see teams who are up big keep up that intensity the whole game because you want to be able to have a good performance. You want to be able to show out that your defense is still strong, and you want to be able to beat the opponent pretty well. So I like seeing the 100% effort, but I get concentration levels waning a little bit when you know that the result is kind of in the bag. That's natural. Too many stakes, bad fundamentals. Bryson Shaw. Interesting. That's interesting point there. Yeah, top pick in the draft. I mean, the top pick in the NFL draft is probably going to be this Thibodeau guy for Oregon who didn't play against OSU. How crazy would it be to see Oregon play OSU in the playoff and Thibodeau plays? I don't think is Thibodeau still injured, or is he been? I think he's been playing now, or is he injured for the season? Let me see. Just checking this for myself. Let's look at his game log. No, he's been playing. Yeah, he's been playing. He hasn't had a sack in 2 weeks. We'll see if he gets one tonight against Washington State. Think we need to get Ryan Watts more experience at safety. Yeah, a lot of it is being bracketed. He had single coverage on the outside. And his deep plays are off hard play action where the safety bites down. Okay, that's true. That's a good observation. I wouldn't have been able to make that observation, so that's fair enough. Yeah, Thibodeau's playing. Good player, really good player. He could give the OSU O-line a tough time if those two teams played again. That would make that game even more interesting, besides the revenge aspect of it, which would be the obvious storyline for OSU to get revenge on Oregon. But I just don't see – I don't know if I see a scenario where Oregon is 2 and OSU is 3 or vice versa. It's possible. It is possible. If the committee wants to put a 2-loss Alabama team but put them down at number 4, and then Georgia would play Alabama again in a playoff semifinal 1 month after they played in the SEC championship. Yeah, O-line played really well. The plays were able to be executed very smoothly today. The offense looked great for OSU. Best performance of the season for the offense. They need to do that again against Michigan State. Need to do that again against the Spartans. You got to make sure that Kenneth Walker doesn't go off on the OSU defense. And I think the OSU defense will do a good job holding him, I think, honestly. So we'll see about that. But I think I'm going to sign off for this evening. It feels like 1 a.m. for me for some reason. I don't know why. Sometimes your mental clock is just not in tune with the real clock. That's going to happen. But I'm going to sign off for the evening. It was a good chat, y'all. We'll be back next week, 3:30 p.m. because, oh, hallelujah, the Michigan State OSU game is not late. It is not in the afternoon. It is at noon, which is lovely jubbly. So we'll be back for that one. And we'll see if that's the last post-game show we do. It might be. Well, it might be with me. So we'll keep you guys posted on the schedule and whatnot. Last point here. If OSU, Georgia, Oregon, and Cincy all went out, we will be 2 or 3, and they'll be 2 or 3. Yeah, that's true. I can see that. But good night, everybody. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. Peace.